Having this mic right here is just dangerous. I just want to touch it with my face.
Yeah.
Welcome to the first ever and last podcast.
Maybe that's what we should name the podcast. By the way, chat, we need your guys' help. We need to name the podcast.
Yeah, we have.
So
this is like what?
Speaking of podcast names.
Third podcast? Fourth podcast?
Third or fourth. And I still don't have a name for it.
Two dumb guys and a baby.
I'd watch that movie as long as it had Dwayne the Rock Johnson in it.
No, I'd only watch it if it still had Steve Guttenberg in it.
Good old Goot.
Oh.
Well, are you ready to get on these
2.5
topics?
men. I am always ready. Welcome, guys, to the podcast. I'm Ben. That's Rick. And we are doing...
On my screen, you pointed to nobody. You were like... Let's see. You were like, I'm Ben. That's Rick. Who am I, Ben?
All right, guys, welcome to the podcast. I'm Ben. That's Rick. And we are discussing some wonderful topics today. I'm actually excited for these topics.
Death. Where do we go afterwards?
Taco Bell, because that's all I can afford.
Dude, I love me some Taco Bell. But the Taco Bell out by me is always so busy. It takes years.
I fucking hate Taco Bell. Hate it.
My body hates me for it, but I love it.
Who am I? You are whatever I say you are. If you weren't, then why would I say you are?
He's got a point, dude. You're done here. What up, the dead rate? So today we're going to be discussing something that I get pretty passionate about, and I get a little heated on.
KY jelly.
KY jelly, exactly.
Is
We're
this
gonna have a 45-minute talk about KY jelly.
Wrong brand sponsorship?
Dude, KY, if you're looking to sponsor somebody. My absolute favorite Taco Bell is the nacho fries. Of course! I love the quesadillas, but anything with cheese just makes me happy. All right. But anyway, we're going to be discussing something that upsets me physically and mentally. Is basically the creation of the newer games and the way games are going. And so what we mean by that is we have AAA titles, we have indie titles, and then this new sort of genre that about 5 years ago that really started taking off as a free-to-play platform.
Mm-hmm.
And you all know these games, Fortnite, Apex, then there's tons of others that have come out, even just recently. What have we had just recently that's popped up?
Like the free-to-play live service market, you have...
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, we just had Genshin Impact. The big one.
Yeah. And then there's that other car one that just got released.
Yeah, but
I played for like 2 minutes.
They are... I was looking it up because I know they planned on charging $70 for that game.
Yeah.
I have not seen anywhere where they're saying it's going to be free to play or that they're still charging. I cannot find any information on that.
Well, it's out now.
Yeah, for free if you have PlayStation Plus for the next 2 months.
Yeah, and I think after that I think it's just gonna be a PlayStation Plus exclusive.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope so.
So,
Bad.
But I would not pay for that game.
Warzone. No.
Yeah, Warzone's another one, and I'm not gonna lie. There's some of these games I do enjoy. I do like me some Warzone. I don't play it as much anymore because I think I kind of got over it. But yeah, and I'll be honest with you. The reason why I get heated about this is because growing up, I had these amazing. I had games like my favorite games to play when I was a kid, end of elementary school, beginning of like junior high, was always like Elder Scrolls. I loved the RPG fantasy style, so digging into that. And then even like the older shooters, the original Call of Duties were amazing. Um, and like those were something that I look forward to, and I could play them over and over again. Granted,
Agreed.
they they make these free to play games now to where you dig in and you play them over and over. But I have not got the same experience from one of those games that I did any of those other games that I did growing up. Like it's just a rush to the finish line or a rush to be the last one.
But do you
So
think
like
that's nostalgia in some ways?
maybe, but you know, a lot of times nowadays I get a good game like that. Star Wars: The Fallen Order. I could play that game over and over again. I love that game,
Agreed.
and uh, those are the games I look forward to. And now I'm a little bit pickier when it comes to games. I need a storyline. I need something to kind of pull me through, and I need a clear objective. Now, when I say clear objective, I don't mean that it needs to be like, hey, you need to do this. What I mean is I need to be able to have a goal either I set for myself or the game sets for me, and I can see my progress to that goal.
Yeah.
So, uh, don't lie, it was boot camp. You got it, B Verdi.
The only
But
boot camp I know is Weight Watchers.
okay, so off the subject, my brother used to bully me and my cousin, who B Verdi is, and
Ah.
he used to play a game with us called Boot Camp, and he was the drill sergeant. He would make us run and climb and jump and do all this stuff to the point that me and B Verdi would be crying because he would be pushing us so hard. Like it wasn't even fun. We don't even know why we played it. And it got to the point that we got so mad at him that we left, and he would then get upset because we stopped playing with him. So
I'll take it.
but what are your thoughts on this subject before we delve in?
On So the reason why we're talking about this, the big thing was Ubisoft announced that they are no longer gonna focus primarily on AAA games anymore. It's gonna be free to play games and games as a service model. And I don't know about you guys. I buy a lot of games like throughout the year. And I'm always playing something. I do not have time to play a game for the next 6 days and then put it down. And then the next weekly event happens, play that for 6 days, put it down. Next week event happens. I don't have the time. And like, don't get me, like, Destiny was a good games as a service, but that took up all my time. I didn't get to play a lot of games during that time. And I feel like it's gonna be a big hindrance to the ecosystem of every game's a games as a service model or every game's a free to play model, where it's just here's the base game or the base version or the base whatever, and then if you want anything you have to pay for it. I don't mind it as much, but I feel like it's stagnating when you have 400 games as a service games. Like you have Anthem, Destiny 2, Marvel Avengers. You got the new one, Outriders, that's playable next week. I want to say this Thursday. Actually, it's this week. This Thursday, I want to say, is going to be playable. Outriders, that's another games as a service. And Genshin Impact, Terra, all these games, free to play and not free to play.
The problem that I have with it is that I've seen a literal decline in game quality since this has happened. And it's just so easy for them to just throw the game aside and be like, yeah, it's free to play, so we don't need to do a good job. And the problem is, too, is that they're making so much money off these.
Oh, yeah.
Just because they'll throw a new, like, Fortnite, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I know Fortnite's made crazy amounts of money, and it's a free-to-play game. They literally made all this money because people wanted to buy skins and different colors for their character.
Fortnite sales just in 2020 was $293 million.
So, and that is literally for your character in a game that you don't even get. Like, you don't collect anything. to get a different skin.
Mm-hmm.
And then a battle pass, which allows you to, I don't know, be able to play with extra skins, I think is what they do.
Yeah.
So, like, I hate the fact, whenever games come out, I look forward to them and I look forward to what they will be with storylines and the experience. And if you keep pumping out these free-to-play games, it's just going to be bad quality.
Oh,
But I can't blame them either, because they're also making tons of money off. And games like that take a lot less time and energy to actually focus on.
It's I want to say it feels like these games as a service models are more like your early access or like Steam preview, where you're paying in, or sometimes you're paying in right at launch for XYZ, $60, $80, $20, whatever, to get the bare bones, and then as it expands and as it builds, then you're paying more and more money to continue on with that. And that's how I feel like a lot of these games are kind of going that route. It feels like it's the quick and easy way of making a game, and that game's fun for 2 weeks, and then everybody's gone playing something else because something new came out.
You know, and that's, for me, I don't mind early access games like that, where they come out and they, like, literally most of the time when people do the early access stuff, it's because they don't have the funds to complete their game.
Yeah.
And so they'll put it on Steam, and then Steam's kind of like a free marketplace for digital games as long as they approve of it. And then if they can get some sales on it, they can start getting some money in to continue their projects. It's basically a GoFundMe for themselves. But I don't mind that, because if you get some games like, honestly, like the game we're going to play today, Valheim, I have not enjoyed a game as much as Valheim in a long time. I've been playing the crap out of it. And it's an early access game, and they're building it. And I don't know if that's a situation. I don't know if they if they couldn't afford to continue, so they needed to make some money, or if they just wanted to release it early. But if they couldn't afford it and they needed to get some money going, I'm more than happy to pay the $20 that I did to get a full game when it comes out, even if it's going to take an extra 2 years.
But then that's where I feel torn. What warrants that money? We paid $60 for Marvel Avengers. And the game's fun. The game has potential, but the game's bare bones at launch. We paid $70 for Godfall. Same thing. It's fun. It has potential. We have not touched it since launch.
Yeah, and I mean, at that point, what are we paying for? Are we paying for Avengers and Godfall, or are we paying for the fact that it had a Square Enix on the title? And you know what I mean? Like, these amazing big publishers that I feel like nowadays, honestly, it's kind of like Hollywood in a way. I mean, like you've said before, the video game industry does crazy amounts more than the entertainment, like most of the other entertainment industry does on its own.
Combined, yeah.
Yeah, or combined. And so I feel like what they're doing is they're just trying to capitalize on that by coming out with these games. And I remember when I was a kid, and maybe it was just because I was a kid, but, you know, they would come out with a new game. So Pokemon, you know, Red and Blue came out. And then it was a couple of years before we saw Silver and Gold.
Yeah.
A couple of years before we saw the next ones, and so on and so forth. But now they're pumping out a new game every year.
Yeah.
And I don't mind wait. Like, I'm an impatient person. So if you tell me that something's coming, I want it right then and there. I do. But I also truly don't mind waiting for a couple years for them to make a good game.
And that's, like, I think that's what Ubisoft's trying to do. So I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a quick second. I feel like Ubisoft's going, well, if we put more time into these free-to-play, smaller budget, smaller title games, then we don't have to make an Assassin's Creed game every year. We don't have to make a Watch Dogs every year. And we can actually take the time to improve those games. I would like to believe that's true, that that's what they're wanting to do. I don't think that they will do that, though. And that's where I'm kind of having a little bit more issues with Ubisoft's announcement towards it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, this is also when we get into, like, how the internet affects the world. Because when I was a kid, I would go to Walmart and be like, holy crap, there's the new Pokemon Snap game. You know, like I saw the commercial for this or whatever.
Mhm.
I didn't see it on my computer. It wasn't advertised anywhere like that. It was in magazines and in TV.
Yeah.
Um, and then even then, you didn't even pay attention when it was coming out. You just went to the store and it was there. But nowadays, there's so much advertising. There's so much stuff that you see, like literally on my phone. I was watching somebody else stream today, and I literally heard 3 or 4 advertisements for different games that are coming out. AFK Arena, like all this stuff, you know? And at that point, I feel like they're trying to make a free-to-play game that's the next Fortnite
Mhm.
that is going to go viral so they can make their money off of it, which I get. You know, they are a business and they're there to make money.
Yeah.
But where's the passion behind it? Where's the people who are making a game to make a game, not to for money?
But I do feel like there is passion behind it, but it's like misguided like attention, I guess. Like there's a passion, they care, but like they're just like, let's get it done. Let's put in what works. But let's not focus on, okay, everybody's going to play this for a month. What are we doing for the next 3 months? What are we doing for the next year? It's let's put this game out, and then let's put in a new battle pass for new skins and cosmetics. And you're not no new maps, no new, no new crazy events. And I feel like that's where a lot of it starts kind of faulting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like Warzone, I've been bitching for a year now that I want a new map. I'm tired of the same map.
And then what do? They come out and they say we're making a, but they don't give us a new map. They give us a new style of game.
Yeah. Or
you know,
or let's make Verdansk dark and throw zombies in it. Fun as shit. But I want something new. I'm not and I mean, granted, I love Warzone. It is free. You do not have to buy a damn thing. If you want to buy cosmetics, you can. But any update has been free. Any new like game mode or anything variant has been free. And I cannot. That is good job. Same thing with Avengers. They're like, cool. You buy the game, $60, great. Any DLC that comes out is free. Any character that comes out is free. Great. I'm okay with that. But how long do I have to wait till I get any of that? Do I, like in 3 years, am I even going to care anymore about Warzone? Because it took 3 years for a new map pack to come out.
I mean, that's the thing. Is like the Avengers game. I haven't touched that since I live streamed it and beat it. And then I think I played it with you on a 24-hour live stream like a week after that.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I haven't touched it. Haven't done a thing with it. I don't know if they've added new characters. I don't know if they've added new missions.
Yeah, so they added they had the Kate Bishop DLC, and then on March 18th they're dropping the Hawkeye DLC and doing the PS5 and Xbox Series X update. But it's like, okay, so why did I buy the game in September if it's going to be a more playable, full-fledged game in March 2021? You know?
And I think this comes down to also they started making those things, about 8-9 years ago called season passes, and they got used to that. And granted, now a lot of times people, I'll play devil's advocate here. A lot of times people look at it and they're like, the game should be complete before it comes out, which I agree with. But when they say they're adding extra stuff to it, it's not fixing the current game. It's not doing anything like that. It's adding extra stuff. And when people come to me and they say, hey, I beat this game in 2 days. How many hours did you play that game? Because you don't measure video games based off of how many days you base it off of hours. If you come at me and you say you beat this game in 2 days, but you played it nonstop for 48 hours, that's a decently long game right there.
Yeah, but like I've heard the argument $1 per hour.
$1 per hour? But
I have heard that argument, and I can understand that argument, but I've heard that as an argument.
But based off that, then let's go into other entertainment. Then a movie should be 15 hours because that's what I usually pay for a movie ticket.
Yeah.
I pay $15 for a movie ticket, and usually I get a drink and a soda, or like a soda and like a candy or whatever.
Mm.
And so when I go to the movies, I usually end up spending so, and that's for 3 hours usually of entertainment.
If you're lucky.
You know, yeah, 2-3 hours. And so, at that point in time, I'm spending half of a video game for a couple hours of entertainment.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
what I think is important, and what's important to me, is the quality of entertainment, and also, like, when it comes down to the video game, the replayability on it. Is it something I'm really gonna want to dig into, like, after I finish it? You're an expensive date.
I mean, I could see that. I mean, but like, I don't know. I've bought in video games that like Order 1886 for $60 at launch. Game was fun. Story was awesome. Short. It was short as shit, but it was good. It was a decent fucking game. We'll never get another game. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah. Well, they and I in that one, I think they kind of shot themselves in. If they would have made a longer game, then we would have seen a much better sell rate on that one, because people like I was working at GameStop at the time. Literally, people were buying it and then coming back in the next day being like, I beat it. It was 4 hours long. And there's a lot of games like that. The Star Wars Force Unleashed 2, we could have easily had a cool third one that was just awesome, but the game itself was only 3 hours.
If only. It was 6 hours. Come on now.
No, I beat that game.
It has replayability.
It does, and it was a great game, but it was only 3 to 4 hours for me. Now, granted, I didn't do everything in the game because I was so excited when it came out. I loved the Force Unleashed 1. And I played through that game over and over and over again. And so when Force Unleashed 2 came out, I was like, well, let's do this. So jumped in on it.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and I jumped in on it, and I literally, the first night of me playing it, I was like, wow, I'm like, am I getting close to the end? And I was at the last mission. So.
But then don't like, and then this is where, like, I guess we can be okay with Ubisoft then. Like, because, like, if we're okay with these shorter experiences, like these 6-hour campaigns on a game that was $60, then Ubisoft going free to play with some games. So, like, we get, what was that? Hyperscape. It's fun to pick up and play. Maybe plow 6 hours in. And then you jump into Assassin's Creed. And then you pick that up and play it every once in a while here and there. Like, so does this free to play / games as a service market fill in for those cheap, lackluster experiences?
If what they do with it is if they do the dream and they basically say, we're going to make free to play games and then really focus on our AAA titles rather than coming out with 7 AAA titles a year, we're going to come out with 3. But then we're going to keep the business floating by these free-to-play titles, and then that way we can have 5 people building one game and then the other 40 people making this other AAA title. Then I think it would work. But it's if they're going to do that. Mm-hmm. If they're going to continue doing it to where they pump out these free-to-play games, once a month we get a new Ubisoft free-to-play game, and then we also get 7 or 8 AAA titles that have half the people working on them, then their games are just going to go downhill from there.
But, and I don't want, I get, there has to be a variety. We have to have free-to-play games. We have to have games as a service games. We have to have things like that. And I get it. But, like, I feel like we're now more in the quantity over quality when we used to be at a time. And I do not like Fortnite, but Fortnite was a quality experience for a free-to-play game. And I feel like that, like, now we're in that quantity over quality side of it.
Well, I mean, it's literally just create something that people can make social media posts on and follow the wave of it until the next thing comes around. Yeah. That's what free to play does. And granted, free to play is great because it gives, as long as you can afford the console, you have games to play. You know, you have an internet connection and you have the console. You have a large variety, but also at the same time, like you said, the quality just isn't there.
Like there's aspects of the games that are like, even like Hyperscape, there's aspects of Hyperscape that were really fun, but to be the next game I play for the next year until something else comes out, it's not there. Not in my opinion, even Warzone is not there. It is not the greatest game as a service model to play for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, while I'm playing my AAA games. There's
Let's think of those titles that like are the games that you can play over and over. The one that everybody will say, Skyrim. Granted, they've made it, 1,000 times, but I have picked up Skyrim at least once a year since the game has come out a decade ago, and played through it, and not just played through it, but put a minimum of 50 hours every playthrough into it. So that is one game that I can do. And then the other game I don't like personally, but Grand Theft Auto 5. That's another one that a lot of people can pick up and play. For you, the games would be Resident Evil. How many times have you picked up and played through the Resident Evils over the years, even though that they're crazy old at this point?
Way too many to count. But I also think, in my personal opinion, I'm the exception to the rule. And I'm not like trying to toot my own horn, but we all know, like me, I play everything. Like there's very rarely a game I'm not playing, and I will replay them. So I will,
but what games do you replay the most? How many times? Like looking behind you right now, you just see stacks and stacks of games.
Mm-hmm.
But how many times do you grab all of those games? I know you play all of them, but how many times will you be like, I just beat this game, back to this one?
Fair enough.
And then you'll play through another,
I can honestly say, like, Resident Evil, like Uncharted, Final Fantasy, are games like that I will always play at least once a year. Like, I'll pick one Final Fantasy or one Uncharted, or I'll pick like one Resident Evil, and I'm like, I want to play this again, start to finish, whatever, So yeah, I can totally see that. Like, yeah, you're right. But I also do. But then, how many times a year do I relog back into Destiny or Fortnite to give it a shot? New expansion, you know what I mean? Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's weird because it's like we hate these things so much, but we still play them.
We do. I don't. I'm a person who is like really picky about those. So Warzone I do play. I do love me some, especially when I get in the mood for it. I'll go pretty hardcore for a week or two. Fortnite, I haven't touched Fortnite in years. I haven't touched it. Like, I played it when it first came out for like 2 weeks. I played the actual version of Fortnite, the zombie survival tower building game.
The one I was excited for.
Yeah. And then the free-to-play battle royale came out, and I played through it, and it was okay, but I was like, this is not for me. I played through like 3 or 4 rounds, and I didn't touch it again. And then after that, I've tried a couple other battle royales. Maybe it's just battle royales in me. I usually don't like battle royales.
I like to look at battle royales, and I mean, which is weird to say this because everybody knows I like playing Warzone, but battle royales is a tourist attraction for me. It is. I'm gonna get in, I'm gonna play, and I don't think about that game afterwards. Like, I'm gonna pick it up, I'm gonna play, I'm gonna have fun for 3-4 hours, and then I don't touch it for the rest of the week. It was a vacation away from everything.
Something you don't have to think about.
Yeah, like I can pick up, I can play, I can have fun, get in with friends, but I don't have to super stress the storyline or anything. It's just it's a tourist spot.
Yeah. Let's see. I got B Verdi here who says, "Do you want to play as stick figures or in HD?" That's true to a point. Nowadays they kind of let the consoles do the work for them on the graphics. They obviously make them look as good as they can, but with free-to-play games, they really don't need to do much. And they always have the excuse, in my opinion, for free-to-play games, and maybe this is what to it is they can always say, "Hey guys, it's free." Like I know it's bad. I know the storyline's bad, or the online doesn't always connect, or you can't actually play the game. But hey, it's free, so
Dude, we justify the weirdest shit though. Like I do I hate microtransactions. I do not buy microtransactions. But every time there was an event in Overwatch, I'm like, hey man, every hero's free, every map pack's free, $20 loot boxes, here I come.
that's another one I didn't do though. Maybe I'm immune to this, you know? So the only thing I ever really paid for was like season passes where it expanded out stories and stuff. I never did the online season passes. I always hated those. So like Call of Duty, whenever they did those, never did that. I may have bought the game for Call of Duty to play through the story mode, but never the multiplayer online.
It's weird. I think sometimes we can justify our justify the bad side of it because XYZ reason. Not in a bad way always, but like you'll justify it.
I think it's an impulse.
It can be.
That's what it is. I think because a lot of times when they buy games, I'm sorry, my dog's just like petting herself on the carpet in the background, and she's being super cute.
Good girl.
But but at the end of the day, when we dig into it, like, why are we buying this stuff? And there's been so many times that I haven't even thought about picking up a game. Like I don't even know this game exists until I get a message from you, One Step or Ajax, and you guys are like, "Hey, let's totally play this game." I just trust you guys blindly, and I'm like, "Cool," but I'll buy it.
But I look at like a lot of those games. The reason why I'm okay with picking them up and trying them out is because they're free. Like if I the reason why I picked up and played Warzone was 100% because it was free. I would have never touched it, but I was like, oh, it's free. The Modern Warfare looked actually decent, so I'll try Warzone out. Loved it.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm a fool in other ways. I may not be getting into like the battle royale and the play games as much as everybody else is, but I'm the reason why they keep making remakes.
Oh, dude, same.
Like,
but then
I hate it. I'm like, I want new games, and like the new games that we have got over the last couple of years, or not couple years, but like over the last little bit, like Horizon Zero Dawn, have been amazing. But then here I am, like more excited for Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 again than I am the Horizon Zero Dawn 2 that's coming up within the next year or so.
So needless to say, we're all in the same boat of we can justify the free to play when it's warranted. We can justify the remakes, and I'm the same way. I'm not gonna lie. I almost raged when I saw that everything coming out for the PS5 and the Xbox Series X this year was pretty much remakes of PS4 games.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why? Like, but I understand remaking a 360 game, or because graphics have changed. We're in HD. A lot of the games on the 360, for most people that don't know this, never even hit 720p. Like, they didn't. And if they did, cool. It was typically an Xbox game, but they never hit an HD format, really. So upgrade them, give you all the DLC and stuff, cool. But I literally spent $70 getting Neo 1 and 2 for the PS5. Like,
yeah, I don't understand that. I don't understand where they're. Maybe it's because they're like, oh, we're bundling it together now. But the problem is that we're buying it. You know, I'm gonna go spend $70 on a Mass Effect trilogy that I've already played hundreds of times. I've put thousands of hours into Mass Effect.
Like, but it's the same. Everybody's like, we don't like microtransactions. Everybody hates microtransactions. EA is the devil. Nobody likes microtransactions. EA, annual report. We just made $1 billion on microtransactions in FIFA alone this year. Congratulations, guys.
Yeah.
But nobody likes microtransactions. $1 billion. Sorry, guys, but one fucking $1 billion on FIFA microtransactions. But we all gamers hate microtransactions. You gotta be kidding me. Like, we buy them.
Because it's easy. It's you're playing FIFA and you're doing the online my team stuff, and yet again it's that impulse, you're sitting there working all the way up towards having this jersey for your team for no reason other than you like the way it looks. And then you're like, you know what? I really don't want to put in 17 hours of gameplay for me to get a chance at getting this jersey. So I'm just gonna buy it for $4.
But still, like, but we still complain about it, Like,
Yeah.
okay, Grand Theft Auto Online, $500 million in the first month alone on shark cards. The first month. The
You know how
first
easy
month?
it would be? It'd be so easy to get rid of microtransactions. Just nobody buy them.
Yeah, but we all still do.
But yeah, everybody that I know of still does. I personally, yet again, I'm immune. I am proud to say I haven't bought a microtransaction that I could think of. So, unless it was something that came with like a season pass or something like that, I have not bought a microtransaction. So
Emu has a good point. EA isn't shit because of having microtransactions. It's because of how they handle their microtransactions, like in games like Star Wars Battlefront 2. But
yes,
but if you find, and I agree with you, Emu. But if you also find the gambling side of things in Star Wars Battlefront 2 egregious, you're buying loot boxes in every game.
Yeah. That's
with a
that's
randomized chance of getting something.
And yet again, is EA the problem? And are they the reason that people are like screw EA, or is it just because they do it the most?
I think EA was the first big one to capitalize it, but I think Activision's been the worst.
I mean, that's the thing is like everybody has microtransactions. Ubisoft, Activision, EA, Square Enix.
I'm gonna look this up. Do you remember this, Rick? You got to remember this. I don't know if you guys remember this, chat. You guys remember the online pass you had to buy if you bought a game pre-owned? Who started that?
I actually think that was EA.
That's what I'm thinking too.
It was sports titles, if I remember right.
I'm looking this up really quick.
Because if I remember correctly, you didn't have to do it with every game. It was mainly just sports titles.
Battlefront, I know you had to buy Battlefield and sports titles required it. And there was, I thought an Activision game required it too. Okay, so here we go. So it actually began in 2013 with EA and Ubisoft. Huh, kind of ironic because we're talking about games as a service and what Ubisoft and EA does. And they're the ones that started that bullshit.
What game did Ubisoft have that required that back in the day?
The only thing I could think of is didn't Far Cry 3 have an online mode?
It did.
So that they would have put a bundle in it with it. Because Far Cry 3 came out 2013, wasn't it?
No, I think
Rainbow Six, I could see it as Rainbow Six too. In 2013 though.
Yeah, Rainbow Six wasn't 2013.
No, and I don't ever remember having to pay for a pass for Vegas 1 or 2.
No, the online passes disappeared after I want to say 2014, 2015.
Yeah, they were egregious, but I didn't know if you guys remembered it, but it's kind of the same thing. It's like why it was, and Far Cry 3, yeah. Okay.
It was like $10 too. It was
yeah. So you buy the game, okay, and I'm not saying GameStop is the saints here, okay, but you buy the game for $60. You sell it back to GameStop for $30. But the online pass that you used it doesn't pass over to somebody else. So if you say I bought the game that Rick sold and it did, and he used that online pass. I bought the game for $50 pre-owned, and then I still had to pay $10 to play the game online, or I bought it new for $60 and got to play online. And I don't understand that. Like, I never understood it. Why did they even start doing that? But it was a huge fucking thing.
Yeah. That was kind of the start of all this extra stuff. But then after that, the reason why they got rid of those is because that's when they invented the season pass, that kind of stuff. Because that came out like 20. I remember my first year at GameStop, Black Ops 2 came out. And that was like the first major launch that I personally did. And they didn't have any online passes or anything like that, but it was the season pass. And then that was people were like, wait a minute, I have to pay I have to pay an extra like $20 for this, an extra $30 for this.
Yeah.
And then every single game shortly after that had some sort of online or multiplayer pass that you had to have.
Yep. But that's what I'm saying. So like, are the free to we no longer most games now, most games, even Call of Duty has gotten rid of the season pass. You do not have to buy the season pass. Any map packs that come out are free. Any like they started with Modern Warfare and they're doing it again with the Cold War. So like if you buy Cold War, any new zombie map that comes out is free. Any new game mode that comes out is free. Any new map is free. So they're like, holy crap. Sorry. Thank you, Ajax. I thought I turned off my sound for my alerts. thank you.
I see you like zone out. You're like, whoa. That you came to like a revolution about season passes.
No, it just got really loud in my ear. I thought I muted it. I apologize. Thank you so much, Ajax. Any which way. So like the season passes kind of like are now going away. And to make up for that, let's drop a free to play game that can get enough microtransactions to fund 3 different games now.
Yeah. But I'm hoping, I'm not going to judge this yet, even though I hate free to play games because most of the time they come out and they're bad. Most of the time they come out and they're just simple knocks off. Let's turn dodgeball into a free to play game and let's add bright colors. You know, like that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah. Well, like,
and so
yeah, it's
and I get it. I understand why.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's a free to play game. We don't need to go too crazy with this. But we'll see. Now if they keep pumping out, you know, Assassin's Creeds. Now I love the Assassin's Creed games. I will always buy the next Assassin's Creed game. But there's one thing that I can't do, and that's where they were about 4 years ago, where they were pumping out a new Assassin's Creed every 8 months. And the games themselves, like you had the Ezio trilogy, which is like everybody's favorite trilogy for the Assassin's Creed. You know, everybody loved number 1 because it was kind of different and new at the time, and then everybody was like, but it's kind of repetitive, you know, you kind of do the same stuff. Then number 2 came out and it blew up and it was amazing, and then the whole thing with Ezio, and then number 3 came out and they were kind of going downhill. And then number 4 came out and it was okay, but still going downhill, and then so on and so forth. The games themselves just comparatively and content and quality just wasn't where they had been.
Fair enough.
Well, let's see. DePapa JJ says season passes 2014 is when it became the normal, which yeah, I agree with that. Mm-hmm. It was pretty normal for about 4 or 5 years after that, and then that's when they got rid of it. They'll eventually run out of eras to make games based in, but I think that's cool. Like I think it'll be cool for them to make a game and run out of the eras. That's fine, but then they can dig into a futuristic game or even you know, something like that. But that's a topic for a different story.
When your prequels have prequels.
Yeah, but I like the futuristic storyline that they build up. But we'll see if quality goes down, or if it stays the same, or if it goes up. Now, if quality goes up with them doing this, I'm all for it. If quality stays the same, what's the point?
So are you thinking? Because like I said, we're gonna play devil's advocate. Ubisoft decides, okay, we're not gonna focus on yearly release games or doing 5 AAA games every year. We're gonna focus on these free-to-play games and stuff like that. Do you think that we will actually see an improvement in quality, or an improvement on mission modes and stuff like that, or is it gonna be the same, just a 2-year release cycle now instead of 1?
I really hope so, but I don't know. Like, I would like to say, yeah, their quality is gonna get better, but I think that's something we have to wait and judge as it happens. You know, like, because like I enjoyed Assassin's Creed Unity. Not a lot of people did, and granted, when it came out, it was buggy as hell, but the storyline was decent. You know, the online features they brought to it. I like you and me ran around that game, and we're both assassinating people like crazy. But was the quality there compared to their other games? No. So now they did fix that, I feel, with the new Assassin's Creed, like Origins, and then Odyssey. I thought Odyssey was my favorite besides the Ezio trilogy. And then with this new one, I feel like they did a really good job with. Like I feel like this is going in the right direction, and they kept the same level as Odyssey. I feel like they didn't go up or they didn't go down from it. They just kept that same flow.
Like it feels solid.
Yep.
It's a
Yep.
solid game. Even if you're not an Assassin's Creed fan, it's a solid game.
Exactly. And so if they do this though, and they've proven to us that they can make an Assassin's Creed like this every 2 years, every year, they can do this. Then if they're going to be pulling back and they say we're going to release Assassin's Creed, I'm okay with it. But that needs to be the best Assassin's Creed to date.
You cut out a little bit on that. What were you saying?
I said that if they basically said that that they're going to make a new Assassin's Creed, 4 years rather than the next year, and they really take their time with it, then that's fine. I'm willing to wait for that. But they need to make it the best Assassin's Creed to date.
I like that idea. Actually, Emu just said kind of something that goes along that. I think game studios have to step away from blocking themselves in to certain IPs. Yes, things like Assassin's Creed are good. There is a limit to how much you can use the same story and setting. Look at Star Wars, the latest movies were a shithouse. No, I'm gonna. They are poorly paced writing, 100%. I still enjoyed them. Instead of making games because of the name of the series, look, make good games and spend more time on them. I don't care that the God of War games take 4 years each. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like, but I think that's where. And I mean, I kind of felt like the same thing with like Last of Us Part 2. It's an amazing game. But the pacing's horrible in the storyline. It's very all over the place pacing wise. That really ruins that experience. And I feel like it's kind of the same way. If you can write a good story, even in a free to play game, there's a good story, a good core concept, good whatever. Power to you. I want that. Don't give me shit to just make me happy. Don't give me a new Uncharted. Don't give me Uncharted 5 if there is not a good story to warrant an Uncharted 5. Period.
Yeah. And they need to take the time and write these things out and make a better story rather than, because they're focusing so much nowadays on the gamer experience and the gameplay, which is great. I love having me some gameplay that's super fun. I love having moments like the game Journey. Journey was, the storyline was okay. The game itself was about 4 or 5 hours long, but everybody loved that game because the gameplay was amazing and the way that told the story was so unique and different. And I think that's where they need to dig into, is they need to stop focusing and being like, all right, we're going to have this one awesome scene in this game that you guys are just going to live for that lasts 15 minutes, and start digging into, all right, here's the overall story. Let's make a game with a twist in it. Let's make a game with this stuff going into it.
But then here's my counter argument. What about the games that do have a good story, do have good gameplay, nobody buys?
At that point, there's games like that, 100%. Kingdoms of Amalur: Reckoning was one of them.
Yeah, there's a lot. I could list them for days.
Yeah, and at that point, I think that people have to rely on friends and family, because the problem is it's just marketing.
Yeah,
everybody knows what God of War is, but I don't know how many people in these chats know Kingdoms of Amalur: Reckoning.
Or Enslaved Odyssey to the West. Just breaks my heart. My heart.
Like Hunted was another one that was really good. Lord of the Rings, War in the North. That game was amazing.
War in the North. I'm still a sucker for the Return of the King movie tie-in. Back when EA made a great movie tie-in.
That was so. I spent hours playing that game.
Do you think? I'm kind of a hopeless optimistic. Do you think that these game companies will change their ideas or change this the mentality?
No, because that's not where the money is.
Do you think that they have to, though? do you think they have to bend to us? They're making the money. They're a company for profit.
No, they're not going to, because here's the thing: is that we can go and with our, picket lines, and we can go throw rants, and we can go on the internet and write the angriest letters. But last year alone, EA earned $1 billion in microtransactions FIFA. They are not going to change their ways until that is not a thing anymore. And then they're going to adapt their business to find a different way to make money. And unfortunately, the way to make money is not through the best storyline and gameplay anymore. The way to make money is to market your game properly, media, and have a quick niche that people can get good at.
So, but then are we to blame as content creators and as social media influencers, or even just like passionate gamers? Are we the ones to blame then?
Partially, yeah, I would say so. I would say, but it's also different just because based off the people, take all the famous people, like all the big people in the gaming, like Ninja, for example. Why did he get popular? It wasn't because of anything other than the fact that he was good at Fortnite. People watched him because he gave good tips. He gave all that stuff so people could get better at their game. And so that's why he grew so well, because he was known as like one of the best Fortnite players in the history of the game, and I think he still is.
I'm sure it's argued and switched back and forth between people over the time.
But like that's what he's known for. If you play Fortnite and you look up anything online, I guarantee if you go to YouTube or anything, he pops up first, or he's within one of the first. And so I think that's the thing, is it's just a matter of the people and what they're doing. Like when I get on, I don't get on to be the best. You think I'm the best at Warzone? I think I usually die first when I'm playing with you guys. But what I get on here to do is I like to get on and play and have a good time with people, because it reminds me of like when I was a kid, 13, 14 years old, going over to my best friend's house and having a video game night with all the boys, And I think that's the content that I want to create. So am I to blame personally? I don't think so. But it may change. I mean, I could be down the road. It could turn into something like that. But also, at that point, that's yet again just a social, how does it affect the world?
Fair enough. How does that affect the world? Unless Kiss is there, Rick, you could be the second one dead. I mean, I get it. I totally get it. I don't like it. I really don't. Let's just sum it up. Like, I don't like it if it's not done properly. Is it gonna change? Probably not. But gaming and games have changed so much in the past 40 years that anybody thinking that it's gonna be this way permanently, you're wrong. But game companies have done more and more to change the way we play games and interact with games. You could beat Mario in an hour. Nobody knew that, but you could beat Mario in an hour. It's how you played it and how it interacted. But now you have games that take 180 hours, 200 hours, 60 hours, 50 hours, 40 hours. They're so massive and change so much. How do you still make a profit off of those games? And that's what they're trying to do. And I get that. But I don't think we'll be having the same. There will be a new style of game that we will be talking about in 10 years from now, and we'll go, man, you remember those online battle passes that EA charged us for? Them mother truckers?
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is it's just down the road. It's going to change, and it always has. I mean, think of the most popular game 10 years ago. It was zombies. Zombies were everywhere. Left 4 Dead, Call of Duty, like all these games was all about zombies. And the game that ended that was Fortnite. Then Battle Royale became the big thing. And So what's going to come within the next 5-10 years? We don't know, but we'll find out. And that will have an effect on the overall gaming, in my opinion.
Yeah, oh, it will definitely change things. Sade said something that I think we should actually talk about on another podcast. I will say that he's wrong, but we should do this on the next podcast. Personally, I just think the era of story-driven games is coming to a close.
Okay. So I actually agree. So I could talk about that for a very long time.
We will do that on the next podcast. I actually love that kind of conversation. Because in so many ways that statement is so right and so wrong, and it's an amazing, I think that would be an amazing conversation. Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah, I could honestly talk about that for hours on end. But that's something that we'd have to wait for another podcast for.
Yeah, I was gonna say that could easily, not that we're gonna do it, but that could easily be a 2-hour podcast.
Yeah.
But I hope EA, I hope Ubisoft, I hope everybody does some better, some things better. I hope that their heart's in the right place. Whether or not they're still trying to make money, kudos, try to make money, but do good.
Yeah, get the passion back. I think that's the biggest thing. Is like, back in the day when I was a kid. Yet again, if you created the game and that was your shot, there was nothing to go back and be like, we messed up or whatever. Like that was your one thing. So when you released it, it was done. And the people who were making the games were so passionate and so into it, and they wanted to bring their ideas to life, which is still the same nowadays. There's a lot of people who want to do that, but nowadays it's just kind of thrown out there. They just kind of let the computers do the work for them, which, I mean, granted, life's going to get easier as we develop technology. I mean, back in the day we had Nintendo 64 because it had 64 bits as a maximum. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's the thing.
Now we're on like millions of polygons on one freaking surface.
Now Sony's created an actual pixel technology that turns pixels to the shape they need to be to make the game look great. So it's different, but I want passion back in the gaming creations. I want people to tell their story, and whatever game it is, if I'm not into it, that's okay. But if I am into it, awesome. But have passion. Don't go in with your wallets open trying to stuff it full.
I agree. Well, guys, this has been the podcast. That's Rick. I'm Ben. And I appreciate you guys watching. And let us know in the comments what your guys' thoughts on this games as a service and free-to-play games. I would love to hear it.